Okay, great. All right, so I was thinking about how to start this, and I thought that my suggestion for you listening is to kind of keep a broad attention, because what I've realized is that I've sort of deliberately disorientated myself in preparing for this. So that's something I'm very interested in, but I think as an audience listening, it could be useful to keep a broad attention and not narrow too far into one thing or one image as I'm speaking. And that might become clear as I begin. Earlier in the research, I discussed my use of the phrase neither me nor the bucket, which in many ways cancels out two objects of attention in an attempt to hold on to this third thing between and beyond my own body and the bucket I'm moving with. Language and matter shift in and out of sync. There is no orange mountain. An absent grandmother cannot manifest. Begin in the middle, neither me nor the bucket, discusses this relationship between materiality and language in the context of a solo studio-based practice and a group facilitation process involving objects, writing, and speaking aloud. The practice leads towards a set of multimodal, performed, video-based, and written points of arrival for a black box space and a white cube gallery. I draw from theories from new materialism, post-humanism, and semiotics, as well as contact improvisation, contemporary art, dance, and theatre.
Vision, mission, blood. Walking around, trying to find something that I never lost. Wind, thin layer on my face. Spinning over and over again. I try to see you, but it feels cold really.
Recursion is used as a methodological framework to demonstrate a process of accumulation and recalibration with written and video-based material. Auto theory is used as a theoretical lens, as well as the use of objects to bring the researcher closer to experiences of the personal. The research concludes with reflections on the performance world that is created through the multiplicity of voices involved, including that of the audience.
Two objects in constant dialogue with my presence. With us three meeting, am I the puppeteer, a transmitter, a medium, never letting my body let go of you. Let it be touch. Let it be my gaze.
I use the term warm-up because it's a well-recognized term that implies an activity before the main event or practice begins. The warm-up in the context of this research is not about stretching muscles so much as it is about sensitizing the body to qualities of touch that are already present. The warm-up is a way to trick myself and others into beginning. The warm-up is the practice beginning, it is not prior to the main event. We have already begun anyway.
Another bucket. Another pelvis. Another bench, another back. Another hand. Another bonnet. Long hair for tall grass. Another bench, another back, another bonnet. Another bucket. Another pelvis. Tall grass for hair. Speaking, saying, reflecting, silently assessing. You, giving silent commentary.
A sense of linear time is disrupted when I introduce the idea that in warming up, we have already begun, and that we are already in contact with our clothing, for example, with the chair. This sense that something has already started, perhaps before our awareness has caught up, speaks to Charles Sanders Peirce's ideas of firstness, secondness, thirdness. More on that later. In a sense, the concept of time and the fact that we are already in relation are principles I tapped into in this context. I'm living in a shared house with 5 others when I write this. We each have a bedroom in the house, which became my studio and working space for the first part of this research. The carpet in the bedroom is a surface upon which I move. It's not a carpet I chose myself. It had been laid by a previous tenant. I needed to hoover this carpet regularly for it to feel remotely pleasurable to work on. Like old carpets do, it had a texture that did not allow my body to glide across it, but rather it offered a friction, a stuttering quality. So I started to think about it as being always already in relation to my body, whether I wanted it to be or not. Throughout the process of working solo, I chose to move alongside objects, furnishings, clothing, and not alone, as if I had a choice. This reliance on a non-human companion was largely the result of working from home during the pandemic. But it seemed like this unusual context intensified my relationship with objects because of their ongoing presence. It also became clear that I could not let objects go, or I could not notice them once other human bodies were involved, because the practice had built around them. It was as if they were extensions of my own body. They were also the architecture that I had unexpectedly built to think through my research. As I discuss in a later chapter, it's also not the specificity of separate objects that is important, but what we together become. It keeps unraveling, says one audience. The same audience member then goes on to say that it grew and kept growing, and then it just stopped. These 2 comments suggest that there is a simultaneous process happening, an arrival and a pause in a longer process. It's interesting to think about how the practice may arrive and stop and unravel all at once. Where does it continue to unravel to, and what does this look like over time? Auto-theory is a useful frame for thinking through this research. It begins on the body of the artist-researcher, with and alongside theory, before facilitating others. Moving with theory is a trait of auto-theory as I encounter it. Quote, auto-theory, to theorize from a positioning that is explicitly embodied, subjective, autobiographical, to engender theoretical insights from one's lived experiences, to practice as an artist, curator, writer, scholar in a way that shuttles between the theoretical and the autobiographical, the philosophical and the anecdotal. Lauren Fournier, 2018. Whilst I write this thesis, I carry around a book with me. It literally accompanies me throughout the process, by my bed, in my bag, against my back. The book is I Love Dick by Chris Kraus, written in 1997, a text that is cited as a key example of auto-theory. In my copy of the book, given to me by my friend and research collaborator, a note reads, someone once stopped me whilst I was holding this book and said it got her through grad school. I hope this helps. There was something about coincidence, the close to hand, that informs many decisions over this research period. I never let that bucket leave my side. I read Chris Kraus's words in between writing my own. The coincidence of finding auto-theory as a mode of writing perhaps had something to do with me ingesting Chris Kraus's language. Perhaps it had a lot to do with struggling with the place of the personal in the research, and at the same time struggling with the theoretical. Chris Kraus seemed to shape the theoretical around her, made it work for her, rather than it controlling her own approach. Early in the research period, I had a thing with books. I kept finding myself drawn to them in the studio. I was interested in the fact that they contained a voice or many, but were also a form with edges, with mass that I could move with. Ursula Le Guin states, I would go so far as to say that the natural, proper, fitting shape of the novel might be that of a sack, a bag. A book holds words. Words hold things. A novel is a medicine bundle, holding things in a particular, powerful relation. I found it difficult to engage with the insides of books at times during this research period, as has been typical for me over much of my adult life. So perhaps my moving with them was some way to overcome a fear of theory that I was grappling with. Book on stomach felt like the touch of a hand. That amount of soft pressure. The book is flat. The book is blank. The book is full of words. You can hear how daunted I am. When I touch the book on the table, it feels inevitable. I couldn't not touch it. I couldn't be anywhere else. And of course, I literally couldn't be anywhere else. Chris Kraus has a way of making connections between the personal and the theoretical that gave me a sense of permission. I am, like Kraus, attempting to bring together different registers of writing here that deal with and shape the theoretical so that it works for me. This is personal. Karen Berard's ideas via Niels Bohr align with my thinking around the writing produced during this research. that the entanglement of matter and meaning cannot not be entirely specific and therefore personal. The process of recursion is used as an overarching methodology that I've drawn upon for this research. It fundamentally frames how my material is produced during the period. Eli Ayachi speaks about recursion under the following principle, drawing from his experience working as a volatility trader and from the perspective of contingency within market economies. I quote, "Every time I recalibrate the model, the recalibration destroys the assumptions of the model I was using until then." Armand Avanesian quotes, "Every time I include a part into a bigger part, I can produce something new. You integrate a part into the whole, both changing the part and the whole." There's a continual writing and rewriting through the doing in the context of recursion. The next artwork, the next movement accounts for the last, for the material produced, for the learning that took place, and it recalibrates from there. You can't go back. In recursion, you're changing the axis point over and over. A big part of this research became a process of gathering language, my own, my collaborators'. It seems fitting that a process that considered new points of arrival as places to recalibrate from would actually rephrase itself over time. This has been one of the many challenges of writing this document. My language keeps changing, whilst the document must at some point find a point of arrival.
Another bench, another back, another pelvis, another bucket, another bonnet. Tall grass for hair. An orange boat born from an orange mountain. Orange mountain, oceanic, orange ocean. Orange mountain, orange ocean, oceanic, orange boat. Orange boat born from an orange.
Pay attention to the ways in which you are already in relation to your clothing. You are already beginning alongside your clothing, carrying it along. Your clothing carrying you. In some ways, it is containing you. The bucket contains, words contain, reminding you of your form through ongoing touch. We are warming up, but we've already started in a sense.